welcome to the Sigma Show, episode 92. I'm your host, Sigma. Before I let you know who's joining me today, real quick, we'll go over what our topics shall be, as we tend to do. First up, we have a string of a bunch of multiplayer games. I don't know why you guys are giggling.
Yeah, I don't know. I just started laughing because Jesse.
All the names are right.
Oh God!
Wow.
No,
Wow.
they're
I
all
should have noticed
wrong.
that.
Oh my
They're
God.
all wrong. Every single one is wrong. All right, we'll fix that. in a
Real
second.
I've
identity
always wanted
theft
to be
happened.
Jesse.
Oh
Here
well,
we are.
congratulations.
Yeah.
A fun fact about how Discord names work before we get into anything is it goes in alphabetical order. So I put the names in order alphabetically, but it turns out Frost Tag is not the same as his Discord name, which I forgot clearly. So that one mistake has caused all this chaos, but it's fine.
Frost,
We'll
what's your problem? First, you start doing my intro for my show, then you mess up all the names. What are you doing?
He has to be
I
stopped.
can't keep getting away with this.
But real quick, the topics. We have a string of small-scale multiplayer games, which have all been set to close. We'll talk about like maybe what some of the reasons are behind that, our feelings on some of these games in particular, because some of them I think are a couple of little fan favorites. And our final topic is essentially E3, which is slated to come back in person to this year. Essentially, rumors are saying that none of the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, will have any presence on its show floor or participate in its showcasing at all, which is probably a big deal for the big video game industry showcase of the year. So we'll get into like maybe why that's going on and what E3 could look like going forward. And here to talk with me about these topics today, I'm going to say the names as I have them written. so bear with me. Honey Money.
Hello.
Frost.
Hey yo.
See, I messed it up because I'm looking at it. And Rexicon Jesse. Thanks, you guys. Welcome back to the show. Always happy to have you. And as we tend to always do, we'll start with what we've been playing, and that will give me an opportunity to fix these names. So anyone, feel free to jump right in. What you've been playing, what you've been watching, reading, listening to, whatever you want to get off of your video game docket. Jump right in.
I'll say I've been playing. God, still slogging through. I thought we were gonna beat it the other night. Freaking Fatal Frame Lady, Maiden of Blackwater.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fatal Frame Lady?
Fatal Frame.
What's the name of this game?
Fatal Frame. Lady of Blackwater.
Oh wow.
Madam of Maids of Blackwater? I don't remember. It's something
Maiden?
Maidens of Blackwater. I think that's
I
it.
think so.
Yeah. Like, it's so much potential to be good, and the game is really, really not that great. And it makes me super sad. The best part about it is if, like, riffing with my partner back and forth about if Tucker and Dale were in the situations that these people were in, and how good of a movie Tucker and Dale 2 would be if they went to Mount Hikami. Like, if you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, brilliant movie, you should watch it. Two country dudes get a cabin in the woods, and a bunch of like preppy college students take a camping vacation really close to their thing. But the kids keep dying because they by accidents, but they think the two like redneck dudes are killing them. And the two redneck dudes are like, why are these kids killing themselves on our property? Like, what's happening here? And it is a brilliant comedy.
Okay.
Yes, and it is starring Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, tons of
yeah.
Tucker and Dale fans in the chat.
Yeah, it's
made
great.
My, made my girlfriend watch that like 2 weeks ago, and she was wondering what the premise was about, but you get it quickly enough to be like, oh, okay, mistaken identity going against the common tropes. Hey, it's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, playing that, not great. I'm real sorry, everybody. I wish it was better.
But the thing is, you're resolute in finishing it, despite not
Yeah,
having
we're
a good.
in
time.
the last chapter, and it's like, all right,
You come this
yeah,
far, you might as
I
well.
want to see how it doesn't end well now. Like that's why I want to finish it.
Is there anything it could do to like turn itself?
Oh, hell
around?
no.
Like it's like, oh, this
No.
final.
There's no. I have had not fun for such an amount of time now that like there's nothing they could pull at the end to be like that did make it worth it. No, that's really. I've invested too much. It doesn't matter unless it gets me a new car at the end. Like
Yeah, I
then
was
it's
about
like
to say,
totally
like,
worth it.
just pulls out like a new car or blows itself up. You know, there's a line somewhere.
No, it's in my Switch. I don't want.
Yeah, that probably problematic if it self-destructed. That'll probably lose points.
The whole mountain blows up.
Yeah.
But nice. Does that do it for you, Jesse?
I played some Sea of Thieves. It's delightful when you're playing it with friends. And some more Dead by Daylight. I played that with friends. Also delightful. And that's, I think, a couple other things for review. I played Death in the Water 2, which a review just came out for, so I can talk about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately boring. Watch the review anyway, but
yeah.
man.
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah, I watched it.
I was so disappointed. It was really just like I haven't played. I'm gonna try not to go off on a tangent. I really haven't played something that was so okay with doing literally the same thing so many times in a row. Like you spawn in to a level, all your stuff starts at 0. Like you have X number of ammo, 100% health. Start level. You have to find 3 treasure chests. You don't have to. It's just you find 3 treasure chests, and the money you get from that lets you upgrade your equipment. You go around fearing snakes because they bite you and you don't see them coming. And then at some point, I literally don't know why. At some point, all the animals want to hurt you, and it starts I don't even know if it's a timer. Like, that's how unclear it is. And I couldn't get into all this in the review, but it starts something. All the animals like to attack you. You have to defend yourself. Cool. I don't know if I think it's a timer, but it might be you have to kill a certain amount of them. And they just attack you and you have to protect yourself.
Oh.
And, like, I don't know when that triggers. If it's just a timer, I think it is. In one level, I had to wait 10 minutes before it to happen, even though I finished other things. So I just parked myself in a corner and was like kind of tabbed out and did everything.
So regardless of what you're doing, if you finish all other missions, you have to wait for this section where the animals attack.
But sometimes it happens in like 2 minutes. It's just like, it's time for this part of the level. It's like, okay, sure. And then you go to the next level. Any health ammo you have left over, doesn't matter. You start at your default amount. Next level, you find 3 chests. Eventually, everything comes to attack you. It's like literally the same thing. It made me sad.
It made me sad.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because you started that review so positive. And then it just went downhill
you really
during the
did,
review.
yeah.
I was like, oh no. Because I was like, oh, is this good? It was like, no. It's like, okay.
Like, it is functional in most ways. It is really nice looking, and the sound audio great. Like, the soundscape is good. And yes, I absolutely led with that, and then just let all my other...
I mean, that is how they tell you to deliver bad news. Right?
Yeah, start with good
You
news,
give-
warm them up, and then deliver the bad.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But check out the review. Apparently, it's very entertaining. I have not seen it yet. So does that do
I'm
it
going
for
to
you?
say
Jesse?
yes. I'll just stop talking.
Yep.
Let's see.
Anybody else want to jump in?
Sure, just because I've not played too much. Whenever it's a writing week, I kind of watch more than I play. But I did jump in Hi-Fi Rush, and fun little rhythm game that I didn't really care for because I find it tends to be a problem with rhythm games where it doesn't really supplement the gameplay. But I watched your review of it, and you said that the harder difficulty was the intended difficulty, yeah?
Yeah, that's what it said in the description. But the reason for it, I thought was odd. It just said the enemies hit harder. I think that was the only difference between the normal and the hard mode.
Yeah, see, so I went in with it and I played it on I forgot what it was. I think I just put it on normal. And then I also put it on the easy just to see what was different because I like seeing if they're going to change anything with the difficulties. It almost like gets worse the easier it is. So seeing your review saying that the intended difficulty was at the harder one, I was like, well, now I kind of have to go back and play it because I want to see if there's a big difference in there. I'm already working on another piece where I'm just kind of here like, is it possible to just play a game wrong? You know, because art is subjective. You can listen to the Beatles and think whatever you want, like whatever meaning you draw from it. But then you also know there's people like Mark Chapman and the Manson that probably take the wrong message from the Beatles and end up killing people and stuff like that. So while art is subjective, I'm wondering if it's possible to just completely overshoot everything. And there's that
just kinda
lingering,
miss
paranoia there.
point entirely.
Yeah. Where it's just sort of like,
That's interesting.
could it maybe be me? So I kind of want to get back into that. So, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush. I just did the SpongeBob stuff, which was Purple Lamp. Got to do a SpongeBob game. I guess that was like their pat on the back because they handled the reboot so well. But it's one thing to handle a reboot. It's another thing to try to make original material. And it just sort of looks like they're a great team to call on for reboots, not so much for original material.
Aw.
Yeah.
Dang. That's because like this was like their shot, right? Like this is where they get to prove that they're more than just a reboot team. And then
Yeah.
if you flub it, it's like, all right, well, back to the reboot mines for you.
Pretty much. I mean, the funny thing is, I think they played to their strengths because it was the plot was SpongeBob made a wish on some mermaid genie magic, which apparently is a big no-no, and that creates like this big mashup of nostalgia memories, like it's just a big fever dream of nostalgia essentially. And I'm like, you kind of, well done. You just went, what do I have? I don't know, a bunch of nostalgia bait. Let's just make a plot around that. And I was like, okay. And
Dang.
it did
So-
progress to get a little better as it went on.
So the levels are based on like what, like just memorable things from episodes?
Yeah, old episodes. It's just a bunch of the same lines.
Oh,
You're gonna
okay.
be in a cave, and they're like the Alaskan bullworm and stuff like that. He never comes
okay.
though. That's why I find it to be baity. Where it's just a lot of, oh, you remember that? You remember this? Oh my God! So like the other characters are gonna be here? No, do you just remember? It's it was
Okay.
less like a less theme park that you get to go in and interact with the memories, more so like a museum, I guess. A museum of memories. So it's just those two games for me, and then outside of that, I've just been cramming a bunch of Will Smith movies from his heyday for I don't know why. 1995 to 2008, the man was the king. My mama praised that man's work. And then she, it's not like he changed or anything. She just like a different tone because after Hancock in 2008, he just started to get a lot more serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was trying to win an Oscar.
Well, he won
Yeah.
it, but now he's made Emancipation as well. So what's the excuse?
That is his apology tour.
Is it?
Like, oh my God. I saw the trailer for Emancipation and immediately went like, come on, Will, you could like they got to you that much you had to go play a slave? Cause it was white America that was really
Yeah.
upset with Will Smith. White America was like, I cannot believe that this black man assaulted another black man on stage before my eyes. How dare he? He should be punished thoroughly, flogged in the streets. That's essentially was the message being thrown out there. Will Smith was like, all right, you want me flogged in the streets? Talk shit about this
Is
role.
that what that was? I generally thought it was just him trying to Django because he was offered, he kind of wanted that role and he didn't get to, which also kind of makes me think if iRobot was his Matrix because he didn't get to be Neo.
Oh.
But he that was his
Yeah,
decision.
yeah, well, it
He
was
chose
his
not to
decision,
be.
but you
Yeah.
also got to feel a little bit like, oh man,
Yeah.
like I missed a.
Well, I mean, he's publicly said that he doesn't regret
Okay,
it
yeah.
because he would have taken that role completely
That's
different
fair.
than Keanu Reeves did, and like felt like it wouldn't have worked as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah.
So he has mentioned that because that's notorious that he was asked to be Neo,
Yeah.
and instead he did Wild Wild West. Was that part of your tour? Did you watch
that's
Wild
the
Wild
one
West?
Wild
thing that I
West.
left out because I watched like
No!
all the ones, no. We watched all the ones that me and my girlfriend had already seen. She had
Oh.
not seen Wild Wild West. Yeah, I don't think she has like at all. So I was like, that's the last one that we're gonna do. Like I was,
Yeah.
Okay,
you
cool.
know, just finished iRobot, I Am Legend, Shark Tale, and all that 1995 to 2008 just bomb.
Was Enemy of the State before
That
95?
was 95 was what was it? I have the list just in case.
Because I
95 was
remember like
Bad
really
Boys.
liking that movie.
Bad Boys.
95 was Bad Boys.
Like
Okay,
I'll
yeah.
even say the list real quick. You got Bad Boys 95, Independence Day 96, Men in Black 97, Enemy of the
Oh,
State
that's
98, Wild Wild West
Okay.
99. We don't talk about this. Ali 2001, respectable.
I might watch Ali soon because my son had to read like a nonfiction book about him, and now he's
Oh.
interested
There you
in
go.
the Muhammad Ali story. So I'm like,
Nice.
oh, so we'll find the
You know,
movie.
2002, Men in Black 2. 2003, Bad Boys 2. 2004, I, Robot and Shark Tale. 2005, Hitch. 2006, Pursuit of Happiness, which I will not watch again. It was good. Will not watch again. It's like Iron Giant for me. I can't. can't do that. I Am Legend 2007, Hancock 2008, and like that's where I draw the line there because 7 Pounds was good, but now I'm like, oh, you're making me sad, Will.
So you don't like it when Will Smith makes you sad?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't know what it is.
He's too
That's
good
why-
at it.
Maybe that's kind of also why I was like flinching when I saw Emancipation because he's just like the poster for it. He making that face, man. You know that face I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
He's
the-
making that face. I was like, I just can't, bro.
Is that same face when he asked Uncle Phil why his dad don't want him?
Exactly. I was like, you just see that. I was like, why you don't want me, man? I was like, come on. Yeah, no, but it's just like a different phase of Will Smith right after Hancock because you got like 7 Pounds, Karate Kid, Men in Black 3. Okay, but After Earth, you got Annie, Suicide Squad. Like it's just a different flavor that
Isn't there
Yeah,
another Bad Boys movie? Because
yeah,
I
he did
remember
another
watching
Bad
that.
Boys.
That was terrible. It was
Yep.
a terrible movie.
Gemini Man, all you know, like it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
He's had a long string of just really bad ones,
Mm.
right? Like the second one he did with his
I
son.
blame his kids.
After Earth.
Yeah,
That's what Jaden.
that was not
Apparently
good.
that was really terrible.
Yeah, it was not good.
Maybe it's Jaden's fault because Willow was an I Am Legend, and that was fine.
Willow was a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
But Jaden was in Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah,
right?
he
Was that-
was a kid.
Yeah, so he was
yeah,
fine there.
yeah.
Jaden's really good in the Karate Kid reboot. Like I really like that movie, like with him and Jackie Chan. And he's also not bad in the Netflix series that got canceled. Crap, what's the name of that? Shamar Moore is in it too. He plays Shaolin Fantastic.
That's a name.
Yeah, that's the
I haven't
name.
even heard of that.
Fantastic name.
Yeah, I don't
Oh my
think
God,
I've
I
heard
can't
of
remember
that
the name
either.
of that show. It had 2 seasons before it got canceled. Justice Smith is the lead in it. The guy from Detective Pikachu.
Oh,
Drawing blanks there.
So someone in chat, please find this
Yeah,
movie.
you guys know TV. Maybe.
It's all about like hip hop's creation in '80s New York City.
Sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's like sort of it's not fantastical, but it's almost like if it was a musical that didn't have
Right.
music in
Right.
it.
Nice.
I mean, it has music in it because it's about rap music, but it's not. The actors don't like sing. They actually perform music in a way that makes sense, as opposed to spontaneously break out into it within the streets.
As you do, you know. So yeah, well, just my Will Smith world tour that I went on. A couple of shows. You know, Last of Us is coming out. Finished season 1 of Atlanta.
Nice.
Will convinced me to watch Lopez versus Lopez. Horrible thing. As a Mexican, that is just god awful. It is all the Latinx flavor you would expect, and it is. I thought it was just like, okay, so it's a little cringe. Maybe the Lopez show was also a little cringe. So I went back and watched some of those, and I was like, no, this is like pretty freaking good. Like his mom in this was kind of Danny DeVito now, and it's Always Sunny.
I can see
You know,
that.
I was like, it was a little over the top, a little I guess cringe, but it just had a little more substance to it. This one, it just feels like a demographic that I don't identify with. Maybe that's why it's more difficult because as like an immigrant and a Mexican, I definitely understood the first one, the George Lopez show. This one, not so much because it's about his daughter and her identifying with being Latinx, and yeah, no, but
You know, I've never heard anyone call that Latinx.
she calls
Me
it,
neither.
She says it in the middle of it.
She said,
Yeah.
Oh.
Like it just summarizes the whole thing. And I think it was like episode 6 or something where she just starts riffing Latinx, and I was like, that makes a lot more sense now because it's kind of ain't for me. Which was funny because you know you'd expect as a Mexican this would vibe with me more. I vibe more with Atlanta, honestly. Like some of those things actually happened to me. I was like, oh my goodness. What was it? Yeah, no,
The Get Down. That's the show I was thinking of.
Oh, the Get Down.
The Get
the
Down.
Get Down. Oh,
I
there
don't
you
think
go.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, no.
fantastic first season, second season, meh, and then it got canceled. So you never get the end of the story.
Unfortunate. Nah, but yeah, that's sort of where I've been, just kind of watching, shotgunning TV, as it were.
Nice.
So excited you're gonna watch
does that
Wild
wrap
Wild
things up?
West.
Yeah, that wraps it up for me. And Wild Wild West. Hell yeah, just to
Wild
finish
Wild,
it all
yeah.
off.
It's a fun movie. It gets
It
gets
is.
crapped on way too hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve the ridicule.
Did people hate it
Well,
when
some
it
of it.
came out?
Oh yeah,
I
it
don't
bombed.
remember.
Yeah, I think it bombed.
Oh,
It was real big.
okay.
Yeah,
That's sad.
people dunk on it constantly, but it is very fun. It deserves some dunking. It's got some real
Sure.
life. This was a poor decision, but like it's fun.
Yeah.
Very fun movie, and it's very much Will Smith in that era.
Did he ever
Yeah.
take himself too serious? Because okay, the thing with like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, where he makes his fun movies, but he gets offended that they don't win anything, and I'm like, yo, bro, come on, you gotta be real with yourself. Like this is some garbage. You're a dude in the jungle
Yeah.
again. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a disconnect with The Rock and like, I guess what like the quality of the stuff he
Yeah.
produces. But I like him. Like he's still a personable guy.
Yeah.
Like, I like watching him and stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like you've been dubbed the hardest working man in television, and you got the money to show for it, but you're upset because people don't like your stuff the way you do. I was just like, I thought you were trying to be silly. I didn't know you were being serious. You know, I don't know. Maybe we see him in more serious roles. I do find this thing of like actors who start off with the fun stuff, they eventually like almost have that chip, or maybe it's something to shoot for as you get older. You know, Adam Sandler did it. You know, maybe The Rock's gonna start being in some slave movies. I don't know. I don't know
Oh
what he's
God.
doing. I hope not.
Wasn't he
Big buff
producing
slave?
like a John Henry superhero?
Oh, that'd be
movie or
cool.
something?
Oh wow, yeah.
That'd be kind of neat. But
Black
don't
Adam
know if
was
that came out or
terrible
not.
though.
the bad.
Yeah, Black Adam was
Okay,
It
it
was
was
terrible.
it was better than I was told. I wouldn't recommend it though.
But was it good? Yeah, was
No,
it good though?
it was-
No.
It wasn't the worst. I understood parts of
oh.
it. It like I would say it was better than like Age of Ultron or Civil War. I thought those were
Disagree.
That is a wild.
That is a
like-
wild statement.
Movie? What?
I
That's a
found
hot
those movies
take,
to
if
be
anything.
upsettingly boring. And like
Civil War.
Yeah.
Found to be upsettingly boring.
yeah,
That is insane.
okay,
That is an insane.
Civil
thing to say.
War was boring because I was so upset at the characters for their incredibly asinine and short-sighted viewpoints from an entire ensemble cast that I could not remove that from anything else. It tanked the rest of it. That everybody would be that thick-headed and dumb out of like 40 people on screen. They all deserved like, I don't know, jail or whatever they were mad about that the other side would get. Like, sure, you know what? Just every worst thing happened to everybody. Clean slate, will start over. That's how dumb they were in that movie. I could not believe it.
Civil War broke me. I remember watching that in theaters. It's like slouching in my chair. It felt like I was just nonstop. I don't know what it was. That's probably when I first started feeling my age, because I was with my friends all the time. Every Marvel movie, let's go. But this one, it felt, as Jesse said, it felt a little asinine. It felt like I walked into like somebody just brawling at a 7-Eleven. I was just getting gas.
Yes.
It made me really uncomfortable, and then that resolved itself kinda, and then they kept going, and at that point I'm like, good Lord, I ain't gonna make it. I started like shifting in my chair, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like it's almost done, right?
That's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
I thought most people really liked Civil
Yeah,
War.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did. That's
Yeah.
the one that just broke me for some reason.
that was the perfect analogy.
Yep.
Is that it is like watching a brawl at a 7-Eleven.
Yep.
It's like, it's uncomfortable and you're rooting for no one.
Yep. It's like being a little kid on that thing that like spins, and you want to spin it as fast as you can, and you hold on to it.
Yeah.
I say like that's when I let go, not because I went, man, this isn't fun anymore. I just lost my grip. You know, like that's it. Stamina broke me. It was like, well, that's it. Yeah, the roundabout. There you go. And that's where I wouldn't say I'm not a Marvel fan or I hate Marvel. At that point, I'm just like, nah, I'm too old for that.
Fair enough. All right, does that do it for you, Frost?
I'm doing good.
Honey Money, would you like to share with the class?
Okay, yeah, I'll try and go through it fast. Poker Face, great show. Comfort food. I watched all the 5 episodes in one go. I wanted more because there's only
only
5
5?
out now. No, there's
Oh,
gonna
there's
be
only 5 out.
10.
Okay.
It's because it's from Ryan Johnson. That's how he pronounces his name, right? From the Knives Out guy.
Oh.
So it feels like Knives Out. At times, it feels like lower budget Knives Out, which is fine, and I don't mean that is as a bad thing because it's a show. But it's just like this lady, Natasha Lyonne. She can tell when people are lying, 100%. They don't explain why. I haven't gone that far. I assume they're gonna explain eventually, but it's just like they don't like bring it up that much. It's like she can do this thing, and that's the show. Like it just happened. Like, and then murder ensues every episode. There's a murder each episode, and she solves them. Bullshit. That's her thing. She's like bullshit. That's kind of that thing.
There was a Fox TV series that had this exact premise.
I mean, that's most.
Lie to
called
me.
Lie to Me.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that show too.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, with Tim Roth.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
it was great.
But as you were saying, like, oh, Fox, I was like, most of these detective procedural ones are just like bullshit. And it just comes down to, okay, who did it? What was their motive? How can I prove it? And that's just like the basic premise.
Yeah, because
But
it tends to start out with us, the audience, seeing the murder and what like, so we know who's dead. It's not like a mystery to us who's dead. So a lot of things happen. A lot of episode just starts with we just see this whole other cast. She's not in it, like half of the episode or something, and then we get to see how she fits into the picture because maybe she's been there the whole time, but they've just not shown those scenes where she's there. Like the angles, like, oh, there's people on stage, but she's just further behind the camera and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Does sound like Knives Out.
Yeah.
Because like they do that too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's recontextualize what you've seen before with brand new information, which sometimes feels like a cheat in like a murder mystery plot. It's like you're supposed to be giving me the clues to figure it out possibly beforehand. Like you can't just add new information, which would never have let me figure it out. Like that feels unfair.
that's brilliant, though, from a production standpoint, right? All right, here's my shot, right? The whole shot, and make it a little tinier, and then rehash it again, but this time just extend that scene out. Just like show the bit that I cut off. Like that's pretty smart.
Yeah, no, I think it's great because you're like, okay, how is she fitting into this? Like, because you're just waiting for her to show up, and sometimes so they kind of mix it up a bit, but yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But yeah, that's great. Highly recommend. Like I said,
Cool.
comfort food. It's very chill. It's not serious, so it's easy to watch. Wakanda Forever. Listen, do people like this movie? I'm sorry. I just do not.
It's been kind of mixed.
I don't like
Perception
it.
has been mixed.
I felt it was very dumb, and I've been waiting for this movie. I was super excited for it, and I was like, okay, because I'm not gonna pay for it because I don't want to. I didn't know it was 2 hours and 41 minutes. What are we doing,
Yeah,
people?
it's the longest in Phase 4. They say.
What are we doing? It's too long. And I was like, what I liked about it. Okay, great, strong female cast, fantastic, loved it. I don't. The baddie did a good job, I guess, but you have this CP. I was just thinking about Avatar the whole time. All these bad guys.
Is that Wakanda Forever's fault?
No, but it's like it's the fact that it's in the same era now because everyone's been talking about Avatar and I'm like, okay, and they're just this kind of the same, and I didn't like the enemies. I felt they were kind of dumb. I don't know, and it's like, and my mind also went at one point in the movie. Like, is this just Iron Man now? Is this just Wakanda Iron Man? Is this just what we're doing? Is this what it's gonna be like?
I mean, there's a little bit of Iron Man in this movie because they are seeding the next Iron Man. Like the character Riri Williams becomes Ironheart.
Yeah, I heard that, and
I think she's gonna get her own series or whatever. So
Yeah.
in some parts, it is a kind of a backdoor pilot for her. Like it introduces her,
Yeah.
and gives her a jumping off point for wherever she goes next.
And that's the thing. I'm not a big Marvel fan. I'm not a big DC fan. I just watch it for the cool like powers and action. So I don't really care that much about the story. But I also kind of want it. it felt cheap to me. It's like, let's just throw this amazing girl that's super smart and like she knows how to build anything from anything. She built her first robot at 3 years old, and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ. Okay, this is Marvel, I get it, but calm down. And it's like, she
Yeah,
just has
I
this
can see that,
suit,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, this is just Iron Man. We're just doing Iron Man now. And I wanted Wakanda. I did not want Iron Man. I love Iron Man. That's one
fair.
of my favorite superheroes. But I want them not to be like the whole. I don't know. I like the Chadwick Boseman stuff as well. Like they did that well, but it was not a good movie for me. I felt it was super dumb. So I'm
I
sorry.
I can see like the disconnect with that sort of
Mm.
stuff. Deebs in chat says sounds like Tony Stark to me. Like, yeah, like
Sounds like
all the stuff they kind of just gave to
Yeah.
Tony Stark for him to be Iron Man is all the stuff that they gave to Riri Williams.
Mm.
So like they are the same character. She literally takes over for him, so it kind of makes sense. But like yes, it's very kind of just. But that's kind of comic books in general. It's like, oh, this person is just the best person. All the things that a person who needs to do this would need to be great, they get.
Yeah,
And like, I get how that can be like a little exhausting.
but this is an adaptation, so they should take the flaws of the original and fix them.
True.
But they don't think those are flaws though. Like those
They're
are
wrong,
the traits
but-
that are true to the character.
They are wrong.
He said they're wrong.
no, see, you go to McDonald's for the Big Mac. That's the whole point.
Oh, you go for the nuggets.
Or those.
Disagree.
but They have their items that people go for.
That's
Like I will push back though on the depiction of the Atlanteans, because like I liked how essentially it was like Wakanda 2, right? Like, because the whole premise behind Wakanda is like, hey, look at this nation untouched by colonialism. It was the same theme with the Atlanteans, except they were underwater versus like in an isolated kind of shielded landlocked continent.
Yeah.
Landlocked country, I should say. So it's a little redundant in the fact it's saying like, oh, look, there's another secret society here. But the struggle between the Atlanteans and Wakanda, that's what I found super compelling. Like the fact that it's like, okay, we are two sister nations who have the same goals. But since Wakanda decided we're going to open up with the rest of the world, and the Atlanteans were like, we don't want that, that's where the conflict, that's where they were starting to like butt heads. Here and
Oh,
there.
okay. I was like,
Yeah.
where do these Hispanics come from? They almost made me watch it just based on that.
No, but I
Yeah.
like that they're
Yeah, like that. That's
the
like
culture.
I love that dynamic, and like they took like it is a long movie, but they took time to kind of give proper seeding to the Atlantean story. Like they get like pretty much half of the movie to explain like why they're where they are,
Yeah.
how they got their powers, and you know all that stuff. And I appreciated that they didn't rush through explaining that new culture, which was kind of just. And this happens a lot in superhero movies where it's like there's something that we all know as metadata exists in the world, but because they haven't cast the people and wrote it into the connected story yet, you don't ever see it until right now. But it was there the whole time, just like your Ryan Johnson shot, right? So like, it's a similar thing where it's like, okay, well now we can tell you about this thing that was here the whole time, and they took their time to do that. So I was very interested in learning that information and how they fit into the larger world.
I also with that I did find it a bit ridiculous that because the movie's just like they also have vibranium. There's just it's like okay, so okay, and they've just been secret this whole time. No one has like because they obviously popped their heads up and they can do that. They have they built the technology to be able to go up on land, to be, for the people who can't breathe just normal air. So how has no one else? It feels like that should be another movie then, where like someone's like, oh, we've heard tales about these sea people, and then someone goes and find them. That would have made sense to me if someone made a movie about that, and they got their kind of their own setup movie, and then you put some Wakanda in there, or maybe like that. They're not the big name, I guess, but.
Yeah.
It just made no sense to me. Like they've been secrets this whole time because Wakandans have been out in society though. Like they went out, And their society is like, yeah, because we can shield everything. Like we
Yeah,
can,
theirs was a farce. Like they
Yeah.
weren't completely hidden. They just didn't tell you what they really were.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're a country here, and we have dignitaries that go X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But no, we're actually like a superpower in the world, and you just don't know it. So like it was a different approach.
Yeah.
Whereas the Atlanteans were like, I mean, they're underwater. They have a lot of space to just be hidden.
Water is big.
Like they don't. Yeah, like they
Very
don't
bro.
have to interact with the other society in the way that Wakandans would have to because they're also on land. So like it makes sense, but I get it because they throw a bunch of stuff that's super convenient
yeah,
for the purposes of placing them directly in the middle of
Yeah.
this conflict. But that's just comic books. So like, at some point you kind of got to be like,
willing-
That's
this
fair.
is what I signed up for.
Not willing
fair.
to accept that as an excuse personally.
And that's fair.
no,
yeah, that's fair. You
that's
don't
what
have
I
to.
mean. That's why I felt it was dumb because you have this man that can fly because he has wings on his feet. Like, people will see that man. Like, I don't care if it's like someone will have seen him at one point in time because he's been alive
I mean, it's
for I don't know
basically
how
Hermes.
long.
So you could assume
I
that's
mean,
where
yeah.
the legend of the Greek god Hermes came from, is from people just seeing that man.
Yeah, but he's alive and still doing that shit now. It's like we have cameras now. Hello, everyone's have like. It's a flying man here. People would notice, but it's like no,
But this
it's
is the Marvel universe.
yeah,
Like there's superheroes, there's
convenience.
mutants.
Convenience.
Exactly.
You're like,
So-
oh,
Yeah,
another
Oh, you saw
flying
some flying
man?
dude? Me too. He was in suit of armor
We're
though.
up the wazoo and flying man.
Yeah. Tell me when something interesting happens.
It sounds like the Disney movie Atlantis with my boy Michael J. Fox in it. So if you got your Hispanic Atlanteans, I guess maybe it's time to, because I saw Wakanda, the first one, you know. So if it's not too tied into the Marvel universe, like I could one off it. Why
I
not?
really like the first one, but yeah, this was not for me. Anyway, I tried Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Stopped playing that pretty quickly because it's pretty
Wow.
boring.
Boring. I think Marty said the same thing, that he couldn't get off of like the first continent or something.
I
I
stopped
think that,
before
at some
that.
point- yeah, like I think at some point you leave your beginning area and then go to like mainland England or something.
Yeah.
So I think Marty never got there. He said.
Yeah, because people's telling me like, oh, you know, it opens up later, but I'm like, but I still gotta get through this slog first, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to, because it feels like a game you play whilst you're watching a video on your other monitor, 100%. That's the only way I think I would play that game. I didn't need to focus on it. I was more like, oh, there's just nothing here. It's just silence. No one's talking. There's just nothing. Just like go to the next marker. Okay. And
Wow.
I don't know this like Avar. Like I haven't connected to her or him yet, so I don't care. It's just like okay. And now you're in a boat. You can raid there. It's like okay, what are we doing? Oh, we're just killing people and raiding, getting treasure. Okay, and now you can go wherever you want. And I'm like, okay, but you have told me nothing. I have no.
So like,
What's the story? What are we doing? Like they just throw you out in there, and I'm like,
just a classic. What's my motivation
oh yeah,
type.
Sounds like
situation.
Yeah.
it's made for comic book fans.
yeah.
It's
I
probably,
don't-
we've definitely gotten to the point now where it's sort of like these franchises, these things are well enough established to where if you don't fall into the demographic, it's safe to say you probably just you're not gonna be about it. That's why it's
Yeah.
easier for me to stay away from Assassin's Creed now, whereas my curiosity got the better of me way back in the day. Now it's sort of like it's going a very specific way that I don't. So
Because I don't know what it is. Because I played the first Assassin's Creed like for 15 minutes, 1 hour at tops. Was boring.
When you say first, you mean like
The first one.
literal AC1?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was bored out of my mind. Stop playing it. And then I haven't tried
the
another
first one is not great.
Yeah.
in all
it's a
honesty.
tech demo.
But that's the thing.
That's
There's
basically
so
what it is.
many Assassin's Creeds, and everyone's like, "Oh, but this one's good. No, this one was not good." And I'm like, "Okay, so I can just
Yeah, there are a
skip
lot.
most of it anyway." So I'm just like, "Why should I spend time on it then?"
This was good in 2002, or when was it?
Yeah,
2011.
that's also a thing.
I would argue that. I played it when it was new, and I did the same thing where I was like, oh, so I hold forward and A,
Oh, okay, there you go.
Mm.
and maybe I'll get in a fight in 10 minutes. Okay. Like, it looked good,
Yeah,
but I mean, all the cool parkour moves were just you hold a direction and A, and he just does them.
Yeah, but history.
Yeah, the later ones kind of took some of the actual control out of the parkour. They automated a lot of it in a way that looked cool, like it looked cooler, but like you did less. So that is a little upsetting. I don't know. I think the sweet spot was like 2 and 3. Assassin's Creed. Well, there were like two twos. There was Assassin's Creed 2. There was Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood.
Yeah, I think it was just called Brotherhood.
Yeah. So 2 Brotherhood and Revelations. I think that's the true trilogy or Assassin's Creed. Then it had some hits or miss after that, and then the big open world ones are also hit or miss. But I've not touched those because they just feel too daunting. Like to be to spend that much time in a big open world.
Black
I
Flag
just
is
felt,
still king.
yeah, 'cause- oh, I think Yasin likes that one.
I really only liked Black Flag when I was going through the main story. I'm sorry, not the main story. When I was doing all the stuff around the main story. Like the stuff in the main story would constantly bore me. Like those freaking stealth ship sections. Like what was that
That was the
about?
goofiest thing, wasn't it? It was just a big boat following another boat.
It's a giant boat.
Yeah, and
trying to-
like, what happens if someone looks behind them? I can't just like behind a wall with my ship. Like, no, we're going in. We're going under the
Those
water.
are terrible.
You just throw up the blue sails, and they're like, it's just sky behind us. We're
Yeah,
fine.
there you go.
You sneak up on the ship and stealth kill them.
A little hidden blade comes out of your
No.
mast.
Just out of the bow.
No.
But yeah, that's the thing. Because I was like, okay, so I looked at Assassin's Creed. Well, the things I've seen from it, I was like, this might be more my jam than the early ones. Tried it. It's not. I think this is it. I'm not gonna try another Assassin's Creed. I don't care. I'm not doing it.
Have you ever played Mark of the Ninja? Remember that
Don't
2D
think
side-scrolling stealth game?
so.
No,
No.
because there's a
no,
trilogy
dude.
of Assassin's Creed games that are 2D.
Oh.
Assassin's Creed, Russia, China, and India.
Those are some hot garbage.
That is not true.
Oh.
Those are.
Well, I've only played China.
That's the one I own.
China.
That's
the one you own.
Garbage.
I like
bro.
China. I like China.
Right.
It's very similar to Mark of the Ninja, and Mark of the Ninja is a better game.
Yeah.
That's where they clearly took the idea from, but it's in that vein. It's like a 2D stealth action.
Okay.
I don't know. Give it a shot if you still care, but you don't have to.
Yeah. It all just goes back to, do you like Prince of Persia? Because that's essentially what Assassin's
I
Creed
have not
is.
played
It-
Prince
Yeah.
of Persia.
It
I
took
have not
Prince of
played it.
Persia's spot
Yeah.
at the table.
There's a lot of like this classics I have not played because I spend a lot of time playing games that I don't know. I just miss those games. I think when they came out, I was in a phase of that seems too hard. I don't want to try. And now I'm more into like I'll try new things, but I probably won't like it, but I'll try it.
Wait,
Because I still
That's the spirit.
Try new,
New
things.
things.
But the game is like 20 years old.
yeah, new things for me.
Okay.
You know, that's how that works. But yeah, I also finished Cyberpunk. I like
Oh,
the
you finished it?
yeah, I finished, but I'm also like I like the game, but I also there's a lot about it I don't like, so I don't know what to tell you. I'm
Yeah.
just like
No, it's very middling.
yeah,
honestly.
it's like it's fine, like it's good enough, but it doesn't do any like the world is the cool part. I don't give a shit about most of the characters. Like the fashion's cool and stuff like that. There's not that many bugs in it anymore, so it's fine. It was fine to play, but it's fine. If
Like
I'm-
you're absolutely right. That game is fine.
yeah,
The fact that it was so hyped is what really did it in.
Yeah.
That and it, of course, it launching in a shitty state.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be this big revelation. Like that's what it was billed as, and it was really just fine.
yeah. It's done nothing new in terms of gameplay. Really, I was like, oh, this is. I thought it would be something cool new. Like, just very generic. I was like, okay, so
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stories in it. Like there's a lot of different little missions that I remember, but like they're so one off.
yeah,
And it's like this could have been anywhere. Like there's nothing about this particular sci-fi scenario that's unique to this cyberpunk setting.
no,
And like I feel like that hurts it a little bit because yes, the city looks amazing.
Yeah.
And like the stories you could tell in that city based on the stuff that happens is amazing, but they don't use it to its full potential.
No.
They just tell you kind of basic sci-fi stories.
Yeah, and I also like I get that yeah, life in Night City is very hard. It's like but everyone's so edgy all the time. It is so much. It's like cock and cunt all the time. I'm like, oh God.
punk.
Fuck this, fuck that. It's like, oh God, I swear a lot, but Jesus Christ, can we calm down? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you a normal person? Apparently not, because they're just like
No.
playing a
Look at the world they
character.
live in.
Yeah, but they're just playing this character that everything's difficult. We must be like this all the time. And it's like, oh God. So I
That's-
just couldn't connect.
That
with
sounds like
anyone.
literally everybody today on the internet.
Kind of, yes. Not us, Casey. Not us. We're special.
What do you mean? Did you not hear Jesse and I get into a massive argument?
Are you talking about the eye bleach thing?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Eye bleach
very
saga.
very strong
Very
opinions
edgy.
about very
Yeah.
stupid topics.
Lots of cursing in that conversation.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was real fun because I was doing other things, and suddenly I just hear Jesse screaming at the top of his lungs, and I'm like, "What the fuck happened? What's what?" Because I'm just like I'm just modding and at the same time doing other shit. So just looking at chat, and then you just hear a scream, and like Casey like raises his voice. I'm like, "What's happening? What we're talking about?" And then I just come into it. It's like bleach and eye bleach. What the fuck happened?
No, nobody knows.
How did you-
No one will ever know.
So yeah.
Historians will analyze this to figure out what happened and how this was the singularity.
Yeah. Oh, and I just started GTA 4 on stream. I got
4, okay.
Yeah, I got it as a birthday
Oh.
gift from the True Mandalorian. I've never played the GTA
nice.
before. I'm also notoriously known as a bad driver in games. So, I mean, I like it so far. I like it. It's great so far. So yeah,
GTA 4 is good.
yeah.
Like I feel like a lot when GTA 5 dropped, like it was critically acclaimed, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like, got all
everyone's
sorts of
talking
attention.
about it.
Over time, a lot of folks have started to say like, oh well, I think they like the story in 4 better
Mm.
than the story in 5. That feels very hipster to me. Like, cause I like GTA 4 quite a bit. The story in 5 is amazing.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm a big fan of 5's 3 protagonists and how they offset each other in weird ways. But I don't know.
I'll have to try that one.
Yeah, give it a shot. Don't play 3. 3 is old now.
Okay.
3 years old. I remember loving it, but like I don't think I'll ever revisit it.
Like if any of that old engine trilogy, then San Andreas for sure.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
even still, that's pretty dated.
Okay.
But does that do it for you, Honey Money?
Yeah.
Nice. I don't really have that much to talk about. I've not been playing anything that I can speak at length about. But I have started White Lotus, the HBO series. So I'm in season 1. I think there's 2 right now. I did not know what that show was about, and after 5 episodes, I still don't know what that show is about. But it is wildly entertaining. Like the first episode, I was kind of iffy on it. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep watching this. Like this seems kind of dull, because the premise is you're following 3 very rich individuals who are taking a extended vacation in a Hawaiian resort hotel called the White Lotus. So like one is like a big family where the mom is like the head of a Google-like company. One is just a really rich older lady who's trying to spread her mother's ashes. And the last group is a couple on their honeymoon, where the wife is kind of this down-to-earth like shoddy journalist. Like she does like listicles and whatnot. And then the husband is like just this kind of trust fund baby who's like super rich and now has married this girl who he wants to take care of, but she is career minded, right? So like that's their bickering. And then you also follow the staff of the hotel. So at first I was like, is this going to be like kind of a more modern Downton Abbey, where it's like, oh, this is how the rich live in today's society, versus like, because like you're not going to have help in the home in today's society. You basically have that at a resort hotel where like the staff caters to these super rich people, right? So that's what I was thinking. It's not that at all. It gets really, really deranged. The show is very strange. Like every single one of these rich people are very, very weird.
Ooh.
and then the way the staff starts to interact with them, the staff gets very weird. Like one person on staff in particular. So like they start to intermingle in very strange, off-putting ways. Like there's a lot of situations that really make you feel very uncomfortable. Where like if you were sitting and having the conversation that these folks are having, you would not know what to say. Like you would just feel bad. And like it makes me laugh uncontrollably because like it's so awkward. So I'm really into it now. Like it keeps getting like every episode gets more and more unhinged.
So
And I don't want to spoil anything, but like I'm really sucked into it now.
So is the title, White Lotus play on Black Mirror? Is it close to that, or is it Lotus as in the Odyssey, Homer discovering the Lotus Eaters, where it's this tree, this fruit, it just puts them in an utter state of bliss and to their own detriment.
I think that's probably what the hotel is named after.
Okay.
It's like, oh, this thing is supposed to put you in bliss. Like this is a resort hotel on the beaches of Hawaii. Want for nothing. You paid a shit ton of money to be here, so you'll get everything you want. Right. Like that's the idea. But the reality, like you're saying, is like this thing actually will hurt you.
Right.
But it's not the hotel hurting them. It's kind of them hurting themselves. Like everyone involved, even the people on staff, are their own worst enemy.
It's wacky.
And like for some reason, them being on vacation and in close proximity to one another is bringing all of it out. Like they can't, like it's your time to unwind, right? So you don't want to you don't want to have the face that you have on when you're in regular society. And somehow like they're just ruining their lives slowly but surely as their vacation ticks on. So like I'm really enjoying it.
That sounds neat.
Yeah, it sounds neat.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it for me. We'll jump into our first topic. This is a long conversation on what we've been playing, but that's fine. Because we have a couple of things to mention here. Real quick, we'll just go over the games, the big 3 games that got caught up in this this cancellation fest. There's more, but I think these are the biggest surprises. First up is Spellbreak.
Wait, what?
Which
I thought it was dead already. What?
You thought it was dead already?
That a surprise?
I mean, okay, I won't say Spellbreak is a surprise, but it is sad because that game was actually pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it was very different in terms of what it was doing in the battle royale space, but it seemed like it couldn't really hold people's attention as a live service game. They were a fairly small indie company who was trying to compete in that space, and I think it speaks to kind of like the larger issue here is that they couldn't keep up with the demand for a live service game.
So super late. Like Fortnite was just coming out of beta as they were in alpha. That was a really bad time to be them. No, but I wasn't being facetious as in like, oh, the game was already dead. Like, did they just announce shutdown, or am I having weird
No, the
deja
game is
vu?
still running right now.
Okay, like I Mandela'd myself. I thought it was already dead.
But like, I think, what did that say? Like, I think early this year it will close.
Aw.
Where's the date?
Give it to Nickelodeon.
Yeah, early 2023. So they haven't specifically said, but
Tragic.
soon, I guess. Because they've been bought by Blizzard, and apparently Blizzard is telling them, hey, go work on World of Warcraft now. So like they have a new job, and that's why Spellbreak essentially is gonna be shutting down.
Ooh, yo,
Okay.
they might pump up their what's it called? I want to say Battlefield. Their PvP game mode. That would be interesting.
I mean, that would be nice. Yeah, like if they could make World of Warcraft feel like Spellbreak does, that would be a big get.
You just don't like your MMOs.
I don't.
I'm with you on that, Casey.
All right.
We can die on that hill together.
So Spellbreak closing its doors. A little more surprising. Knockout City and Rumbleverse. Rumbleverse in particular, which only launched about 6 months ago.
Yeah, that's pretty new.
Knockout City is a really fun multiplayer game. Apparently, and this I did not know, Knockout City EA was publishing the game, but apparently it's a fairly small studio that's behind it. And essentially the same situation. They cannot keep up with the demand that it takes for a live service game. Like even if the
Oh.
game is
Yeah.
popular, like their team is too small to kind of keep it going. So this was kind of their own decision. Like I don't think anyone outside of them was like, "Hey, you got to cut this. You got to shut this down because it's costing too much money." They themselves were like, "This is too much," and are going to shut it down with the hopes of taking what they've learned from this and making something else. So like the studio still exists. Like the studio isn't being shuttered
Well,
or
that's good.
anything. Yeah, that it is good. But they apparently want to work on something else, and like that honestly sounds a lot less sad to me than I mean it sucks that the game isn't going to exist as a live service game anymore. But even on that note, they said that they're going to release a way to basically play custom matches. So like you can still
Oh.
play Knockout City among friends. If you have enough
That's
people, you
nice.
can set up private servers or whatever. So that'll exist. You just won't have like live matchmaking and updates and new content or whatnot.
That's man. I wish that was standard in
Yeah.
multiplayer games, where it's like if you shut it down, you release an amount. The part where it's like, well, if you want to do it a custom, go for it. Like there won't be any patches. If there's a game breaking bug, it's obviously in there forever. But like,
Yeah.
you can still play the game you have and give it a
Hey,
second
so,
life.
Yeah. So that honestly makes the news feel a lot less bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely. Way better
then-
to be like, hey, we bit off more than we could chew and we can't sustain it, but we're gonna make something else that we love, and also we're not tanking. So yeah, that's pretty
Right.
as far as this goes, yeah, it's pretty much the best scenario you can hope for.
It is.
And like we mentioned just a little ago, Rumbleverse also shutting down its servers. This one very, very fast. Also a game that folks who have played it seem to have enjoyed it. Like it has kind of favorable reviews. But I think it's the same story. Like the folks behind Rumbleverse, even though Epic, has like a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like they could fund this for as long as they want to. It seems like it's the devs who kind of don't want to keep
Oh,
doing this.
interesting.
Really, live service games to me are just turning into the new restaurants. Like that's kind of how it is. If you don't know the industry, restaurants, they're like if
Yeah.
you don't, more often than not, you're gonna die within 5 years. It's just very difficult to keep on maintaining what it is that you're trying to do, carve a space for yourself. But even then, like let's say that you are the owner of this restaurant, sometimes you kind of get tacked on to this vision, right? Like you open up a seafood joint. You are not going to be like serving burgers anytime soon unless you've got some real strange demographic that you've managed to attract or whatever. And that's kind of what's happening here. It's like keeping a game alive just takes so much effort, so much creativity, and also so much manpower that it's very easy to not get your return on investment. Now, I've been playing free to play games since like 2013. I've seen more dead games. When people say, "Oh, you think what was it? Freaking, you think the new Saints Row game isn't garbage?" Like I've played some garbage, like some actual these games don't function. I've played some the game's not in English and it wants my credit card first thing. Like I've played some garbage, right? And it's mostly just gonna come down to, were they trying to make a game or were they trying to just make an experience that lasts? It's kind of in that video of the Immortal Game, trying to go for immortality. More often than not, you're just going to give yourself a quick death. Depending on who it is, I don't really mind what they're trying to go for. It's also something we've experienced in mobile gaming. Making a failed game actually makes you more money than a live service game does. Because let's say that it cost me, I don't know, $100 to make a mobile game, and I offer a small little battle pass for like $1. I only need like, let's say like a few thousand people get it, and then the game dies within the week. I've just made so much money. So like you can monetize failure more so than live service, because I think they're just jumping into it as restaurants. They don't take into account the the cost to keep the lights on, the cost to keep people paid.
Yeah.
That's still going to keep on going. So it's I don't know. It's a weird misstep that I see from the video game industry because they are younger, but like restaurants have been around for such a long time.
that's a really good comparison,
Yeah.
restaurant comparison, because
Yeah, it
that
is.
seems to be exactly what's going on here. It's like they're like, oh, I could do that. Like I have my grandmother's recipe
Yeah.
and it tastes great. So like let's monetize it, right? And then it's like, oh, this is a lot more than I signed up for.
Yeah.
And so it shutters. Like that's what these were. They were like, hey, we have an idea. It would work great in this very lucrative field, but in order to keep that going is so much more than what they're actually willing to do. Because Iron Galaxy, they've been in the industry for a while. They've made a lot of different experiences. They kind of like from this reads as if they don't want to do this anymore. They're like, oh, this might not be the last Rumbleverse that you see. Like they might do another thing in the universe because maybe they like the universe they built, the characters, the mechanics, or whatnot. They just don't want to do the live service thing anymore.
No,
So like
people get tired of their
if
games.
these smaller studios feel this way, I imagine like a lot of the larger studios who are pumping the money and have the money to keep these things sustained. I wonder if they're like because they're just looking at the monetary side because it's really hard to make money in these live service games too because there's so much competing.
Yeah.
Like I'm wondering if their devs feel this way, but you know they kind of have to do this because the publisher above them, they don't get burnt out on the idea. They just want to see the return.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of with Lampy here, or the publisher's like, I want a live service game. You're probably most of your your brute force work that's going to be doing everything is probably young developers who are trying to like get their foot in and then just use it as a CV and then they move on. Because I'm friends with a lot of live service developers. They don't stick around the game for too long. Like even the most obvious one is Hi-Rez. I don't know of too many of the developers that haven't moved on from the games that are like now 10 years old. You said Assassin's Creed earlier, even before live service was a thing. Patrice Désilets was like, I'm making 3 and then I'm done. Like that's it. He finished Assassin's Creed. He finished Ezio, and like the ones after that, they weren't him.
But there
Same
must
thing
be a
for
thing
Assassin's
where
Creed
they're
Valhalla,
also
whatever.
like they just want to move on. They're trying something creatively, and then like, I tried this. I'm done with this now. I want to do something else.
Mhm.
And good for them if that's also one of the, because that's how we get new things. They learn from it and they're moving on. They're gonna probably try something new, but maybe in the same vein, but kind of different. So I hope that's also part of it.
Also, what is it? I kind of like the way not Paragon, Epic does their things because them closing down a game for just put resources elsewhere is nothing new. They did that with Paragon that was out for like I want to say it was 2 years before they shut down, but they refunded everything.
Yeah.
I said that to the devs' faces. I don't know if it was the community manager, their HR, or I was in there deep because I started funding the alpha. I was like, you keep this card system in this game, your game is dead within 3 years. Like no one's gonna want to play for this, pay or play for this. But then they're like, yeah, we're just gonna refund everybody. You can use the assets if you want, and we're gonna make Fortnite. So it's not the worst thing. I think.
Yeah, like they cut their losses.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't doing well, I guess to them, because Fortnite is such a massive success, if Epic has any other games in that wheelhouse, and it's not itself a success, it just looks bad in the portfolio, right? Because they have Fall Guys now, they have Rocket League all sitting next to Fortnite, which is the big behemoth. Like you don't have to be as big as Fortnite, but at least be big and popular in your own right. Like if you're sitting in that camp and you can't do at least that much, they're like you can't sit at the cool table with us. Like I feel like that's their mantra right now. But like they're not killing off the devs. They're just saying try something else.
As somebody who's kind of gotten a look on the inside finances, these people that are paid to judge public outcry versus money and ROI, I think a lot of people are sadder about the news because they're hearing the news, not so much because they're actually impacted by the game. Like the amount of people.
Right. I mean, yeah, because no one was playing.
Live service
It's kinda
games are
why.
horrible to get feedback on because the community will be like, we want this, we want all that. All right, I gave you that. No one paid for it. No one bought anything. I'm not doing this again. And so yeah, this is like just super messy. I've never liked live service games, not just because of their development cycles, but also how they involve the community. I've never been a fan of those things. I was like, people don't know what they want. They didn't know they wanted this game to begin with. So like why would you expect them to want more of whatever's going on in there? Yeah.
and that's why you never listen to your community.
Pretty much. I also
Great
don't-
words from a community manager.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
That's a joke.
I'm sure they've told you at some point in Ubisoft that they're like, there's gonna be some people that are really adamant about the specific thing. Just take the feedback, give it to us, and ignore it. Don't get involved. Don't do any of that.
I mean, it's the thing of the customer
There's
is
a lot of
not
math
always
involved
right.
with what? Yeah, like there's a lot of math involved in trying to gauge sentiment. But it is always a guess. Like, it doesn't matter how many analytical tools they throw at you and how much data they combine and put into like a raw number. At the end of the day, there are humans who look at this number and say, all right, well, we'll deal with this and we'll ignore that.
Same.
That's just
Yeah.
that's just how it works.
It's also, like I said, public outcry. It's difficult to gauge perception and reality, especially if you're getting most of your news from, like, say, Twitter or something like that. This is a natural part of game development. The amount of games that just kind of die, before we even went deeper into the live services. It's always been a natural thing. It's just people are becoming more aware of it, and maybe there's still that taboo about, like, oh no, game is dead. Like, there's so many dead games, you just never saw them now. Now you got armchair gaming specialists. I blame the pandemic. During the pandemic, everyone on Twitter thought they were a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Now some kind of coding Twitter specialist. Now it's video games. It's natural. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's because making a game is so easy. You just take the thing you like,
Oh,
make
yeah.
it happen. You made a great game. I don't understand why people are having such a hard time with that.
What is that thing?
Oh, you got an important step,
Chat
Jack.
GPT.
You also check it for bugs and then remove those bugs.
Oh.
So that those bugs are no longer in that.
Well,
game.
But after
you
you
can just
make
get
money.
assets.
Yeah, you just get that, and then the
Get
assets are bug
assets,
free.
put them in things,
You're like, why would you put bugs in your game? I don't understand
Because I like them.
Right?
why you make a decision like
I
that.
like them.
For that.
Those are load-bearing bugs. What's that thing, that Chat GPT, those AI things? Yeah, just like ask them
Yeah.
to make your game. There's your code.
Yeah.
That's
AI
gonna
Apparently,
be
folks are doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
That
this
is
ChatGPT is writing code
It's
for
actually
you.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good
yeah.
for it too.
no. People have been doing that for a while. So you get the code and then you just kind of correct it. It's the same with just people writing things. Like they give them prompts and then it writes it for you, and then you just go through it and fix some things, and then you have your text. That is the future. It's the easy way, but it's also kind of the future.
Sad,
Yeah.
sad future. But yeah, anything else we want to add to this conversation? There are a couple other games that got closures
Yeah.
that we won't go too deep in. But was there anything else you wanted to mention?
I wanted to mention, just because you had mentioned that they were like a lot of small studios and games, but two of the ones that are going down are Babylon's Fall, which is Square Enix and Platinum Games, which are
Yeah,
huge studios competing in the
Yeah.
live space.
yeah.
And like they failed. Also, really funny. I thought it was funny when I was looking at Babylon's Fall for do this, and it was like games like this, Hood, Outlaws and Legends, and I was like, is that still? And I clicked on it.
Yeah, remember?
You
Oh
can-
wow, remember that?
It's still there. It hasn't died
It's
yet.
still
Yeah,
going.
you can still buy it.
You got it for free on Epic not that long ago.
That's true.
I have it now.
Yeah.
we should
We should
revisit
totally
Hood.
revisit it because I'm so curious.
Revisit it
if
and go, oh, this is still bad.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's still
Yeah,
as
yeah.
not fun as it was. But yeah, Babylon's Fall and a Dragon Quest game was on the list too. Dragon Quest: The Adventures of Dai, a Hero's Bond. I don't know what
That's
that
a
is.
show?
long. That's the title.
Yeah, it's a long title. But yeah,
I thought that was a TV show.
it's on the list of games. I gotta look it up now. Maybe they have it wrong.
Yeah, adventure. Well, yeah, some of these were mobile games, like Apex Legends mobile. Apparently, that's getting shut off. That seems to be a weirder situation where there's some sort of licensing
Yeah.
thing going on. Like they want to move it from like one of the devs who they have working on it because there's some kind of Chinese connection and something. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
There's a lot going on. With
I
that.
thought they
Isn't
just
that
couldn't
the whole
keep up
thing
with
with-
the Firestorm.
But isn't that a whole thing with Blizzard now? With they have World of Warcraft, and their host, the people in China that's hosting World of Warcraft in China for the service there, they they're battling it out. Like they are known in China to have stuff like big statues of like WoW stuff outside of their campus or whatever it is. They put up videos of them destroying those. Like it's a big.
Wow.
They destroyed the
Jeez.
office.
Wait, what kind of
there.
statues?
They are burning that bridge, 100%.
Is
Because
it like World of Warcraft statues?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
like
I was
big
wait,
ones.
what? All right. That's cool.
So that's the whole thing. Because I think Blizzard is like shopping around for other, and they found that out, and it was like, nah, and they got real mad about it.
Jeez. Yeah, there's some tension going on with that East-West
Yeah.
business connection in the gaming space. I don't have a ton of details about it, so I'm not going to make a ton of comments, but something's happening.
Yeah.
Echo VR apparently is a really fun VR game, but like I can't imagine there's a ton of people in that space playing multiplayer VR right now. So it makes sense that it's getting shut off too.
Yeah. And that Dragon Quest game was indeed a game. It's a mobile game.
Well, okay, it was on mobile. Maybe it was based off the show because I'm pretty sure that Adventures of Dai, at least, like that's the subtitle of an anime. I think it was on Netflix. if I'm not
Adventures
mistaken.
of Die.
I didn't know there was a Dragon Quest anime.
Me neither. Doesn't
That's why I
surprise
gamed
me
it.
though.
No one knew the source material.
That's true.
But yeah, it's kind of what you were saying, Frost. Like it's a tough space, whether you're like a freaking Square Enix or you're a small time publisher. Like everything you were saying, like it takes a lot of consistent power. It takes so much work. Yeah, if you get creatively burned out because you wanted to try this and now you're stuck in it for 5 years, like community feedback is tough. Yeah, it's not an enviable position. I'm curious where game space will go after enough failures. When it's like we're tired of investing this much money, and if
Yeah,
it'll
will they learn their lesson from this sort of thing?
yeah,
Because like yeah, sure you have a couple big successes and everyone wants to emulate the big success.
Mhm.
Even some people's strategies are sometimes to just I'll copy the big thing and just be a little version of
Right.
it and I'll have a smaller success, but that's enough for me. Like it doesn't seem like that works. Like unless you're a big success, you can't really fund the effort it takes to keep pumping out stuff to make yourself even a
Yeah.
medium success.
So I'm curious if because of things like this and like, you know, all the stuff that happened before this, so Avengers and like all lots of plenty of games, if it will, how we'll see the industry change, or if they'll just double down. I am curious.
They might. Yeah, Nick the OG in chat says, learn their lesson. Let's all laugh at an industry that never learns anything.
My biggest concern is the smaller space because people like Square Enix can make projects and then they can throw them out and that's fine. They still have their cash cows. They're okay. My concern is the indie scene that's like, yo, we're gonna continue to develop our game as we go along. I was like, don't do that to yourself. It's like a studio of 3. It's different if McDonald's tries to open up a new chain of dive bars or something and it just doesn't work out. He's got the money to fail. That's fine. Whereas a mom and pop who, they got talked into spending all their life savings making the restaurant and it didn't pan out. Like that hurts in a more heartfelt manner, I assume. And that's sort of like I don't want do not follow the example of the AAA. Just don't. Maybe back in like 2005, sure. Not now, not anymore. Let them make their decisions. But again, I also think it's kind of a non-factor. We're just being communicated at more than we usually are.
Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, like if these weren't like big stories, like if these games kind of just petered out, and especially since they're all happening at once, I feel like that's another weird phenomenon. Like for some reason, they needed to get these things off their ledgers at this point in the quarter. All of these companies, like if instead like it was more trickled when these things happened, or if they didn't release like kind of big Twitter threads like, "Hey, we regret to inform you, like our stuff is going to close soon," like would anyone have even cared? Because the majority of the gaming public weren't actually even playing these games. Like there are some diehards for sure, but like I was not spending regular time in any one of these games.
I know of them. Yeah, it was Knockout.
Right,
Is
yeah, I know
Knockout
them, sure.
that dodgeball one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knockout City.
Okay, I was about to say.
It's good, and that one at least will stick around in some form. Like we may still do game nights in Knockout City, which we can just log into and fill ourselves. But yeah. So we'll go ahead and move on to our final topic here as we get ready to close the show out. E3, everybody's favorite video game conference in the summer, is supposed to be back. They're having another live show in the LA Convention Center, in-person show, I should say. But Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, they have not said anything publicly. But a lot of sources from IGN apparently are confirming that none of them will have either any presence on E3's show floor, and they won't have any announcements tied to the ESA, like the E3 conference itself. Xbox has already stated that they'll be doing their own thing, which they have been doing for years now. Like they'll have their own convention in the same geographical area. And then they'll be doing probably some sort of video thing, or they'll probably live stream their thing from that physical space, in accordance with E3. Like if E3 has announcements X, Y, Z, they'll put theirs outside of that window, so as not to overlap. Right? They'll show respect in that way, or really they'll just piggyback off of the usual E3 hype. Nintendo has had a presence on the show floor for years. This is the first time they're taking everything off. Like, so there won't be any booth related to Nintendo on the show floor, but they haven't been doing announcements at the show for years now. They're the ones who started the whole direct thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, and they tend to just do that beforehand, I think, either before or after. Like Nintendo will just go and then E3 will happen, like right after. And Nintendo doesn't seem to care about lining up with E3. They'll go like maybe a day or two early sometimes, I feel like.
They are
don't
Nintendo.
care. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't care.
Nintendo doesn't give a damn. And Sony's situation is the same as Microsoft's. Like, if they're gonna do an in-person thing, they're doing it off-site. I think the last time they did was in the same geographical area, but I don't think they respected the timeline much. Like they was like, hey, we're Sony, we're doing this here. They took all their stuff off the show floor. They've done that since, I want to say, 2019.
Yeah, they haven't been there since
So, like,
2019.
Yeah, so they were already on their way out.
Yeah.
They're already doing their own direct conference and whatnot. But they like to tag their stuff at the tail end. So they'll be like, E3 happened, now it's Sony time. So my question is, E3 does want to come back. They want to try and regain their status as this kind of hub of video game news in the summer with big announcements. Is there enough outside of the big three to kind of tie these announcements together? Because you're going to get the news at roughly around that time in the summer. Like, that's just the cadence, right? But will E3 still act as a glue to that stuff without the big three actually being there? That's what I'm curious about. And you guys can chime in whenever you want.
I just didn't know that E3 was still a thing, to be honest. I thought it was done with. I thought it was just like, oh, we're moving on. We have Jeff Keighley now, We don't need E3 anymore.
Well, that was Jeff Keighley trying to step into the vacuum that E3 left. Because, yeah, I think last year and the day before, and not the day before, but the year before last as well, they did nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas the first time they were like, we'll try to do an online thing, but like they didn't really get a bunch of people to sign up and do it with them. So they took 2 full years off. And I think one was like a late cancellation. It was like, all right, this year we're skipping it. This year we're going to do it. You know what? We're skipping it.
That's not.
Now they want to come
Yeah,
back.
yeah, but that's not great for the fans. Then the track record of being like, they've been kind of That's because where's the trust then? Oh, they're saying all of these things, but who knows? And then at the same time, it does feel then that the studios are like, oh, we're not going to show up, probably. That also shows a bit of, E3 is done. Like, you don't have to care about E3 anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean, does that make you sad in any way?
Yes, but at the same time, things change and move on. Because when I was a kid, going to E3 was my biggest, like, I wanted to do that. I got, like, my gaming magazines was, like, E3, like Mario on the front and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to go there one day. And now it's just like, E3 is kind of sad now to me. It's just kind of...
Yeah, if you did get to go, and it's the year that all the big game manufacturers are nowhere to be found on the show floor. It's like, what was the point of me coming here?
Yeah.
Like, I'd need a different ticket to get into whatever Sony's doing. I'd need a different thing to get into what Microsoft's
Yeah.
doing.
I just think E3's kind of. It just feels like it's over. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's over. But that's me.
Little more hope than that, I would say. You could be 100% right, because without those three pillars, that is pretty rough. And I don't know on the financial side how much them investing in E3 helped them too. But I think an E3 without the console manufacturers would be great because it would focus on the games. Like, it's not about who's exclusive to Sony, who's Sony pushing for, so what do they have? What are you going to see the most of? Who's Nintendo pushing for their own stuff? But, who's Microsoft? They bought this studio, so now they're going to be a huge thing. Where it's just like, you would go, and there's just an ass ton of games, and you could be like, that looks neat. I don't like that. What's this? And it's just about the games. So I think that could be really cool. And the big three will probably use that time frame as they've done before to be like, well, everybody's eyes are on here, so now we're going to have our direct, we're going to have our showcase, immediately before or after. But yeah, I think focusing on the games could be a very positive thing for E3.
That's one way to look at it, but I mean, I would counter that with the fact that probably the biggest E3 events are when they announce new consoles.
But all right, that is true. However, nobody's announcing new consoles this year, probably. Well, like the PS,
Probably not, no.
like what hardware is coming out that they would want to spend the money to have booth space for? Like PSVR comes out in this month, I think, PSVR 2. But by the summer, you're either going to have it or you're not. Like they're
probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
from their estimates.
And any game to make you interested about PSVR that wants to announce or, say a release date or say big update or whatever can have an E3 presence. And then you could be like, oh, what's that on? PSVR, that came out? Interesting. And then so the games can still sell the hardware, but they don't have anything big and upcoming. So it just might not be financially worth it for them to do this year, but maybe in 2 years they will.
That's a good point. Yeah, like once they do have hardware or something that would require a more physical presence that they want to get in front of people, maybe they will show back up on the show floor. But I mean, in Microsoft and Sony's case, like they just make their own show.
Yeah.
Right. Like Nintendo was the only one who was like, all right, we're not gonna rent a whole building. Like Microsoft owns the Nokia Center. Like they changed the name like forever ago, but they bought that. And they're like, that's where we'll do our things. So they don't have to go back to the show floor. Like it costs them money to do that.
Yeah.
That they don't have to spend in that case. So like, I don't know. It's like E3, other than the history of the event, like what is E3 really bringing to the table?
I mean,
for these guys to want to participate.
Yeah.
For the hardware, maybe nothing, but for the software, a lot. Like I went to MagFest in January, and like one of the great things about it is just literally walking down the indie showcase floor and just going, this looks cool, grabbing a controller and playing it. And now it's like, oh, well, I'm going to put this on my wish list. This seems cool. Or like, oh, I want to check this game out. Like that has some value to it. Like, and I think for, especially in a situation where it's like E3, where you have all the, hopefully continuing to have a bunch of outlets come together to play new stuff and then report on it. So I do think there is value in it rather than just, saying, hey, check this out on the Steam page. And then maybe you get around to downloading it. Maybe you don't.
But I think the exact experience that you're referring to can today be replicated online. And that's a lot of what's eating their lunch.
I disagree. I think
okay.
Part of it is the physical space and being able to talk to a dev and seeing what another person is doing in that game because you looked over their shoulder when you're passing by them. Like hearing a crowd getting excited over something. Like there are things that aren't replicated. And I love the online space. Like I'm not saying you can't replicate it. You have to keep things in person. No, there's so much you can do online. And that should be, if it's going to be a two-pronged attack, absolutely one of them should be this is all the stuff online. But that physical space really does matter. Like there is value in it.
Fair enough. Lampy in the chat says, "What do big publishers get from E3 though? They've all realized that talking directly to consumers works better, and E3 is about talking to the media, who then talk to their consumers."
Exactly. See, it sounds to
Yeah.
me like the big three are trying to kill a cop. That's just how it goes.
What?
E3 is basically all right. First off, at E3, all three of you got to come in with your hottest stuff, right? If
Yep.
PlayStation's making a stinker while we're showing off the new hardware, might be a year I get an Xbox. Might be doubling down on some more Nintendos here. It keeps it honest, but also keeps them all kind of pushing to sort of one up each other, right? It's also super direct because you got everybody's coming in here. IGN, Yahtzee was on the show floor too. Everybody here, and it also almost gives credence more to sort of indie games where it's like, wow, everyone's covering this indie game in the midst of the big three. That's like, oh, okay, there's some legitimacy going on here. But now we're like don't have to compete with each other. I feel like the pandemic kind of spoiled them, where there's like, wow, no one can boo us at our own function. So again, the big three are just kind of sort of just killing a cop. I think E3 as it is known is kind of dead, especially because I think first off, I think E3, the air it had around itself was a bit of a lie. As Lampy said earlier, it's a trade show that was opened up to the looky-loos like that. I think Yahtzee's mentioned that before
And
too.
that was super recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Yahtzee said as well, if you're not working in media or heavily invested in that behind the scenes stuff, why the hell would you go? Like me, when I was just a fan of gaming, I'd never wanted to go there. Like, why would I show up to that event? Now, more invested in the development side of things and like the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, E3 sounds more exciting. I think hopefully, if they wisen up, I feel like they could just sort of like change their angle a little bit. I kind of would like it almost to be more of E3 if they were smart about this, right? Since everyone's doing all their stuff, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, E3 now goes after all of them, brings in all the critics, all the review guys, and now it's a big hub of like, all right, compare, contrast everything that we learned so far. Let them actually like sort of communicate with each other. Needs to be not so much the stage anymore, but kind of now just be I guess the funnel more so instead of
I think that
the platform where
that's how
everyone
it's worked.
performs. Sorta, kinda. It's in that question of like once somebody gets too big for their britches, they're like, who's helping who here?
Mhm.
Like
Uh-huh.
how's this
Right.
going? But with a more detached space, with the big three not being there, it's sort of you have to fight to prove your worth. And what E3 had was that media space. Like all the media is together now. Not so much the
Yeah.
big three because you can just say, well, without PlayStation, you're nothing. Without Nintendo, you're nothing. But it's just like I've got the news essentially. I think that's more so where they should kind of play their hand because as we've seen, it's the news that can impact the perception more so than anything. And I think perception is almost as good as reality in some circles.
On the internet,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Like absolutely, perception wins the day versus reality. But like, all that makes sense, right? And what you're saying is true. Like E3 was always a trade show. It was for the industry. It was never a fan centric event. And I do want to say, like, my dream of going to E3 was always as working in media. Like, I wanted to be press and I wanted to like cover E3 or whatever, right? So when they did start opening up tickets, like, oh, you can come and pay to just be on the E3 show floor, that never made sense to me, because like there's nothing for you to do as a fan at E3. And they learned that very quickly, which is why they've partnered now with ReadPop, which is a company that runs all the PAXs
Yeah, I was
and
about to say,
whatnot.
it's like PAX.
And like those guys are supposed to know how to make an event for fans. So like they're trying to make this new E3 cater to both the fans. Like they will have gamer days, and then they'll have like the regular press days. I don't know which direction that's. Maybe the press days come first, then the gamer days, or vice versa.
And then T-Pain.
But like they're trying to make it more like Gamescom, which is a giant, massive public and press centric show. But the problem is the damage has already been done. The pandemic showed these companies that they don't have to pay for the space
Yeah.
on E3's show floor. And also the world has changed. Like, whereas E3 was the way to get these game publishers like big views, like the news, mainstream media would cover E3 because E3 was such a big event. Whereas when they go back to their separate corners, it's a lot smaller on their radar. When they all come together, it's like, oh, video games are kind of big. They're making a lot of noise over in that LA Convention Center. But like now, it's like Nintendo can make a bunch of noise at home. Microsoft can make a bunch of noise at home. They just made the biggest. They're attempting the biggest acquisition ever. like $67 billion is nothing to sneeze at in any industry, not just in games. Like anywhere, that's massive.
Mickey Mouse
So like
money.
they can make these ripples without the help of coming together, and that's just what's happening. Like they're like you're saying, like they're too big for their britches now. Like E3 can't hold these giant egos in a single place. They won't fit in the same room. So like yeah, I think E3 is done. Like whatever E3 becomes, it won't be what it was.
Yeah.
That seems to be what they keep chasing, is what they were.
Yeah.
And they have to evolve into something completely different if they're gonna keep moving forward. Because the name still has cachet. Like we all consider that time period in the summer to be E3, but it just doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, they can survive, but you're right. It's not going to be in mimicking what they were.
Yeah.
Got to be.
But they got to be smart enough to stop chasing that. We're E3. We're the biggest thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, make a smart choice. What's your finances look like? What are you able to do? And how is the landscape looking now? Because like I said, everyone's just doing their own shows now. So E3 needs to change. But they're kind of dead if they just keep chasing the old E3, I think.
So I mean, is there anything you guys would want to see E3 become going forward? Like, what would be a better idea to kind of stay relevant, or rather than stay relevant, just be useful in the industry? Because it's a show that's run by the ESA, the Electronic Software Association. They're lobbyists. So a lot of these big companies pay the ESA to advocate for them towards the American government. So that is that organization's actual purpose. The trade show is kind of a bonus. Like it's almost like fundraising, because those companies who pay dues also would pay them for the show space and to like present or whatever at that show. If they're not getting that revenue and they're just getting their dues, and folks are like leaving ESA every now and then, like I don't think Activision Blizzard was paying for the ESA, if I'm not mistaken. I think Sony might have also left the ESA. So like if those folks are not paying them in their dues, then they might just dry up altogether. So like they really need to find kind of a purpose. I feel like is there any ideas you guys have or can think of?
Right now, the only person to make another consoles is what, that Playdate thing. they're gonna be showing off some strange tech.
So you're I mean, I know it's kind of a joke, but you're suggesting like maybe they focus in smaller, like rather than advocate for big companies who can probably advocate for themselves, become like focus on the little guy, which is what they did originally. Like video games don't have a voice in government. Well, these smaller developers don't have a voice in government. You guys pay us dues. We'll advocate for your rights.
I think it's more so.
Or we'll show off your stuff.
E3 needs to focus on themselves, because as we saw, I think it was last year, whenever it was during those awards, who was that guy on Twitter that had to stop that? They sort of just collect news in the industry. I forgot what his name was.
Oh,
Nibble?
the guy who has the
Neville?
Mob Psycho
Yeah,
profile
him.
picture, right?
Yeah. That's how I see.
Crap, what was his name?
I don't remember. Respects to him. Neebs? I don't know. Something with an N, I swear to God.
I don't think.
I swear it was like Nibble.
I have no idea. Nibble?
right.
Nibel.
Nibel.
Yes,
See?
Nibel.
Oh,
That-
Nibel.
I'm
Oh.
so good for it.
You
Anyway,
got it.
it's astounding, my memory. What you call it? It's sort of in that where people saying that's not games journalism. You're just the guy that's you're making a list. You're not making news. You're just putting it all together.
You're an aggregate.
That's sort of how I feel about E3. I think E3 needs to figure out their own identity and really like have something to stick with. That's why Jeff Keighley's thing was popping off because it's Jeff Keighley and Jeff Keighley knows Al Pacino. Everybody knows Sony. Everybody knows PlayStation. Everybody
And
knows
Kojima.
Xbox. They know Master Chief.
And Kojima, yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and Kojima. There you go. Yeah, unless E3 has like I don't know Arnold in their pocket or Sylvester Stallone or somebody, like they really need to start kind of playing to the personality, playing to the appeal. It's just as simple as that. What do you offer me that nobody offers me? Or if you are going to be the guy that's reviewing everything, what's like who offers it legitimacy in that sort of way? I think it's kind of like where The Escapist is, where for better or for worse, you know, the big thing that people know through The Escapist is like Yahtzee, but we're always constantly working to grow our own personalities within the space, and that's what everyone's encouraging us is to be a person, let people be attached to you, and they'll be attached to the product. I don't know who or what is at E3 right now. I think
No.
E3 needs to figure something, or if they are going to continue wanting to be a platform, it's about who they get on there. I'm thinking like you're going to need some very identifiable people within the industry that are just like all sort of, I guess, reviewing the games as they're coming out. It's almost like a America's Got Talent thing, but for video games. Like your stage needs to be legitimate because you know the people in it aren't the big three anymore. Those are the ones that make up most of gaming.
Yeah. Like almost in a sense, it was like, okay, these guys, not saying that this is how they think or how I think, but essentially the ESA or E3, I should say, is like, we're the reason these guys are so big. We got their stuff in front of the most people. So who's gonna join the next pantheon? Who's gonna be the next big three?
Yep.
Like you'll find them here at E3. That tagline writes itself.
I don't know. Get like Lucas Pope. You know that'd be sick. If you could get some indie authors, somebody needs to offer legitimacy. Right now, E3 is they ain't got too much of it.
Let me say, I just sent Jesse the ESA members list on Discord. Too big for Twitch.
I just sent it in the group chat.
Look at that.
Let me take a look.
That's it.
Jesus Christ.
That's a lot.
I always
so-
forget Disney Interactive Studios still exists.
See if you could just like focus on like big publishers, maybe you know Super Giant Games being at E3.
Ooh,
That's
Tencent.
that's that kind of stuff that could work out.
Yeah, Tencent's everywhere. That's not surprising.
Or just like, ooh,
Apple isn't
China.
in here,
Who?
Apple doesn't make games.
but they publish. I mean, the App Store. I thought they published games because they have like Apple Arcade and like.
That's like expect.
But they
Don't
don't
they-
but they don't like respect
Yeah,
it.
that's like saying Valve. Yeah, like Valve's not on here either because they just a store.
I thought they were more involved, but I guess not.
But again, these are people who, like, this is the group that pays the ESA. Like, they're all just members of that board, and they get a say in, like, kind of what they lobby for in the government. So if you don't care about that for whatever reason, then you won't find yourself on this list, or if you're not big enough to join, I suppose.
I don't know. It's strange. It's like in was it that third Batman movie where he's like, "I pay you. This gives you power over me." You know, it's like who has the power, the money, or the, like they're
Right.
trying
Like,
to
Microsoft was on the
they're
board,
trying
but
to
there's
kill a
like
cop.
Microsoft and Nintendo are on this board, but like they don't care about the trade show anymore.
Imagine.
Like, that has no value to
That's
them.
what I'm saying. Does E3 have the brass to just be like, well, you know, I might not listen to you at the next meeting if you're not at this trade show?
Oh.
Do they have that in them or do they not?
I mean, they run the risk of saying like, all right, well, if you're not going to listen to me, I pay to be here. I'm just going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you met me? I'm Nintendo.
Right?
Chris Pratt voices Mario.
The big three have discovered,
They know me.
the capitalists have discovered unions. And they like them.
But yeah, any final thoughts on this before we wrap up?
Oh,
Bye,
just see
E3.
what happens.
I knew you well, ish.
Yeah, we'll see if it actually even goes through this year. I think there's going to be a show, but we'll see how it goes. Honestly, to us, the viewers, we probably won't notice much of a difference because we'll still get a ton of news in that time period.
Yeah.
It's really ESA and like the physical show that are kind of struggling and on their last legs here.
Yeah, but isn't that the point then, that you say we won't? Because that's the thing. I also believe that we won't notice much of a difference. But then the question, but do we need E3 then?
Well,
I don't think we
I mean,
do.
it's what we'll call it because like Summer of Games has not stuck.
What you call it? Nick's gonna be upset without E3. It's like the only time he gets out of the house.
No, he goes downtown all the
yeah.
time.
That's true, yeah. But yeah, thanks so much, all three of you, for joining me for another show. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Frost, why don't you let folks know where they can find you and what you have coming up?
Let's see here. All my stuff is tagged The Other Frost, so that's on your Twitch, on your Twitter, MySpace, everywhere that's got accounts of some sort. And then I think that's it for me because I've been all over the place to really have a consistent schedule. So if I say anything, it's going to be on probably Twitter. Yeah.
Nice. Honey Money, how about you? What do you have coming up? Where can folks find you?
Twitch.tv, obviously, what is the address? Twitch.tv/honeymoney__. Yes, double underscore, because honeymoon is taken, damn. I try to stream Monday through Friday. That's, yeah. Tomorrow's Masochist Monday, which is Hi-Fi Rush, because it doesn't sound like a game I would like. So I'm gonna try it. I'm like, it's so good. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I probably won't like it, but I'll try it. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah. Otherwise, it's GTA 4 rest of the week.
All right, nice. Rexicon Jesse, where can folks find you?
Also, everything is Rexicon Jesse. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. I'll be streaming tomorrow on my channel, probably more Dungeon Siege, and Tuesday as well. Wednesday is RPG Help Desk, and then of course Casey, you and I Monday night have Hidden Gems. It's my week this week. I gotta see if that game I asked for came through or not. And then get Jesse Greek on Wednesday, and I stream on Thursdays too. And my Patreon, the Death Trap Dungeon video is up for everybody for behind schedule, and so if you're a Patreon supporter, you get to see that now. Eventually, everyone else will see it.
Good stuff. As always, you can find me at SigmaGears9 on Twitch and Twitter. Later today, over on the Open Party channel, we will be doing Super Smash Sunday. So join us for the sweatiest 1v1s in Smash that you ever did see. So much sweat. You guys love it. Outside of that, my review for Hi-Fi Rush is up on The Escapist. Go check that out. As well as all the other streams that I've been doing throughout the week. Marty and I started Half-Life, the first one, this week. Not bad.
It's game.
It's an old game.
It's
It's
a
an old game.
It's going okay. But we'll be continuing that going into the future as well. So yeah, just follow Twitter. You'll see when I go live for all the other stuff. I can't think of anything else to plug at the moment. So that's our show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for conversing with us. It's always a pleasure to have everyone in chat rattling off their opinions while we do the same. Thanks to my three guests once again. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.